All right, we're live with Blaine Penny. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Blaine.
All right, thanks for having me.
So today we got some exciting news coming up, and it's coming up quick. So I wanted you to get on here and share with our audience what you have going on. Blaine, tell us what's coming up this weekend first before we get into more details.
Yeah, well, we're the Calgary Marathon's coming up this weekend, so it's an exciting weekend for the city as a whole. But in particular, there's going to be a group of 100 and something, hopefully close to 150 of us linking ourselves together, literally tethered together to run a marathon to raise awareness for mitochondrial disease and support the Mito Canada charity.
So what is mitochondrial disease?
Mitochondrial disease is a genetic disease that affects the body's ability to produce energy. So essentially what it does is for people who have this disease, they cannot process the food that they eat and break it down at the cellular level for our cells to use properly. And when that mitochondria becomes dysfunctional, the cell becomes dysfunctional. If enough of those cells are impacted, it can have significantly impact a person's health.
Okay, and then you have a personal experience with that?
I do. Yeah, unfortunately, when my son was about 4 years old, he literally woke up one morning with a sore stomach. Took him to the hospital. We thought he had appendicitis, and we removed his appendix, and his appendix actually was fine, but Evan wasn't. And didn't wake up from that surgery, and he, suffered a severe brain injury, and it's been a long journey and an odyssey to understand what happened to Evan. But it took a year to get a diagnosis of mitochondrial disease, and to be honest, since then we've still been trying to do additional genetic testing to fully understand, which mutation that was and what that severity of that impact is on Evan's system.
And so the day-to-day struggles, I suppose, of unclear answers, or I suppose there's more. You've been doing this for years and have been able to find more answers or raise awareness around it. What was that like, kind of being like, what is this? We have no idea what's going on, to at least having a better idea now?
Yeah, let's just say it's been a long road, as one can imagine. On one hand, the piece of not knowing what is exactly wrong with Evan is challenging. I think everybody who has an illness would like to have a label on that. So I mean that's hard, but we're fairly confident in terms of what Evan's diagnosis is, and unfortunately there are very minimal treatments, and we are basically pursuing those treatments that are available today for someone like Evan with mitochondrial disease. But then there's the other piece of, because of his underlying disease, Evan suffered a severe brain injury. So even if we were to correct his disease tomorrow, he's left with those impairments. So there's that day-to-day living of trying to care for Evan and provide the quality of life that he deserves and that we can maximize for him. I mean, he's a spastic quadriplegic today as a result of that brain injury. He's tube fed. He's nonverbal. He suffers from a lot of chronic pain. He's had a good year the past year. We've had a number of surgeries that we've corrected some things. But those are the day-to-day challenges that we face for Evan. He's a growing lad. He's 13 years old now, and being bound in a wheelchair, and for someone like Evan that's suffered the brain injury that he's had, it affects his motor skills, and he's got high tone and spasticity that's resulted in pretty poor scoliosis. So even for Evan, just sitting and being comfortable is a big issue.
How do you communicate with him?
We talk to him like a normal person. We're very convinced that the part of the brain that's impacted is more the motor skills, so it's around movement and speech, that type of thing. But cognitively, we're pretty confident that Evan can fully understand the world around him and hear and understand what we say, what people say to him, and he certainly responds to that. You walk in the room and his eyes will light up, and you read him a story. If something's funny, he will laugh. So that makes me smile, and that gives me hope that there's more we can do to hopefully unlock better communication with Evan in the future, and that would be a massive improvement of quality of life for him.
And how does he communicate with you? Like how, let's for example, like how would you know he was in pain?
You know, he would wince and cry if he's in pain. Yeah.
Okay. So I suppose on a lighter subject, you guys are doing quite a bit of things around mitochondrial disease. You've raised tons of money. You guys have been doing all kinds of Guinness Book World Records, for example. That was so cool. Like I was there last year to witness some of the things that you guys were doing, and it's unbelievable. Tell us what you've done in the past, and then what you have planned here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's the other piece with all of this, right? I mean, there's what that's out of your control, and then there's what's in your control. So, you know, the piece for me and my passion around, you know, Mito Canada has been that piece as a parent where you feel helpless, you can't do more, and Mito Canada's kind of provided that channel to inspire in ourselves, I guess, that there is a future and that there's hope. And as a big part of that, we've used sport as a platform to raise awareness and to fundraise for Mito Canada. So back in 2013, we had an idea around attempting the Guinness World Record by linking 10 people together and doing a speed record as a great way to raise awareness for mitochondrial disease. And lo and behold, we raised over $100,000, and we got a Guinness World Record and got some fantastic press out of that. And that just sort of planted the seed to many other Guinness World Record attempts and other people coming forward saying, hey, we would love to attempt a Guinness World Record under the Mito Canada banner. And Dave Proctor, who you know fairly well and that had on the show, spearheaded 6 Guinness World Records last year at the Calgary Marathon Expo on treadmills, and just took it to a whole new level, which was a fantastic spectacle if you were to happen to see that, which, you know, I know you were there last year. So that was amazing. And then we looked at coming up this year, what could we do that's unique? And with Canada's 150th, we couldn't but help ourselves trying to tie in a theme of 150. So what we thought, you know, we could do is, and I've been wanting to do more of, to be honest, is how do we draw in a larger group of people to participate into something? So a record of the most linked marathoners to complete a marathon was a natural fit by trying to link 150 people together.
So I'm not sure if I lost your audio there. So you want to link 150 people this year, and last year you guys did 10.
So yeah, the record in 2013 was 10 guys linked together and doing a speed record. So that was the fastest marathon by a linked team, whereas this one is more about the numbers. So this year we want to do 150 people linked together, and the records for the most runners linked to complete a marathon. And then also, actually, we've got a team of 10 women who are going to go after a women's speed record. So they're going to try and repeat what we did in 2013 for the women's record. So we're actually going to have 2 Guinness World Records that we're chasing this on this Sunday.
That's awesome. So, and you guys have raised quite a bit of money around this as well.
Absolutely, it's pretty cool when you're coming into an event like this, and you pour months and months of effort into laying the groundwork to get people engaged, signed up and registered to participate, and then the last week or two, it just, the momentum just really takes over. So yeah, like literally in the last day, we've raised close to $20,000 have rolled in the last couple of days, and I think we're up to $117,000 that we've raised combined with the women's team and the Link team and other fundraisers with Mito Canada. So this is huge.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Now that money goes to research for mitochondrial disease?
Absolutely, research, and it'll go and support the overall mandate of Mito Canada, which is raising awareness about the cause and the disease, obviously, and providing support for families and patients that are affected, and also supporting research as well.
So, how many runners do you guys have for? You want to link 100? Was it 150 runners for Canada's or the 150th birthday?
Yep. So the goal is 150. We're sitting at somewhere between 110 115 right now. We've had a lot of people drop out. As you know, running can be pretty harsh on the body, and so lots of injuries. I'd say we've had 40 50 people drop due to injuries or life happening, which is to be expected. You know, you're going to have a lot of dropouts, but we've got some people still coming forward, so we're still recruiting. There's still time for people to get involved. If they're already signed up for the marathon and looking to be inspired by a greater cause, we'd love to chat with you to see if you're interested to join us.
So you're still looking for runners now. What type of? Yeah. This is the full marathon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Only laughing because someone like myself, I'm like, a marathon. Maybe could I'd join if it was like the 5K, 10K. So this is the full marathon linked together with 100+ people.
Yeah, absolutely. So
can you explain that to someone like, I don't know, myself, that has a hard time comprehending? So you're actually chained together and you're going to be running this, marathon.
Yeah. So it's going to be hard to picture here, but basically, the way we've decided to configure ourselves to give us the most likely chance of success and not tripping up in each other is we're literally tethering ourselves together with surgical tubing. So we're all going to be connected to this massive grid of surgical tubing, and we've organized ourselves kind of in pods of 15. So we're going to be 3 runners wide by 5 deep in each pod, and then each pod is separated by about 3 meters, and each of the runners is separated by about 1.4 excuse me, 1.4 meters. And so we're kind of like this giant train, if you were to think of train cars, but an elastic train. So if you think about the amount of delayed reaction in terms of starting from end to end, this whole train is going to be about probably 70 meters long. So starting and stopping this train is extremely challenging. So by having the different pods, that provides more flexibility. Or this train is like a big spring essentially. So we need to be able to communicate across that train from end to end. So we're going to have radios as well, so we can get on the radio and communicate down the line to let people know that we have a stop coming up, or if there's something on the road and we need to veer left or veer right, or we have a hairpin turn. It's just, to be honest, it's this whole piece of logistics. Going to the washroom is a massive challenge, but it makes it kind of fun, And then, the full marathon, 42 kilometers, is quite it's gonna be quite the experience.
And what's the most people that you guys have had together as a practice run?
We have had a little over about 35 people together so far in the biggest practice run. So we won't have had everybody together until race day. So that's the other piece where we've tried to do our best to communicate with people. We've created an animated video of some of the most challenging components of this, so that people can at least have a sense of what they're going to experience, and minimize the surprises, I guess, on race day, so that it improves our likelihood of success.
So you guys have these hundreds of people. How are you going to, or sorry, not hundreds, but 100+ people. How are you going to get everyone to stop or communicate? You said radios. Is everyone going to have a radio, or what does that look like?
So we'll likely have about 8 pods of runners, and each pod has a designated leader at the front of the pod, and they will have a radio. So the protocol will be, and we're going to have, this is kind of fun part too. So we're going to have outriders on bikes who are riding ahead and giving us a heads up if there's anything on the road, if there's a road car that came onto the course and blocks the course, or if the spectators in the way, or other runners, they'll be trying to create a path for us to come through. So they'll radio back to us if there's an issue, and then we will verbally communicate that within the pod of, hey, okay, someone has a cramp and we've got to stop. So we'll put the brakes on. So it just allows us to do that much quicker with that communication.
So what happens if someone has to go to the bathroom, if someone has an injury or a cramp? The whole train stops?
Yeah. And this, you just nailed the biggest challenge that we have in this whole thing. So Guinness has stipulated in order for us to be successful with this record, everybody who starts has to finish as well. If anyone becomes delinked during the whole run, then the record is null and void. So those are some pretty strict guidelines. So what we've done is we've got 3 aid stations set up along the way for pre-planned bathroom breaks and nutrition stops. So basically every hour and a half or 12K, 25K, and 36K, we'll be stopping for about 10 to 15 minutes to allow everyone to go to the washroom, grab some fuel like hydration and food, get back on the link, and then start running again. So hopefully people, if they have to go, they can hold it until we get to those points. But if not, it's going to be interesting.
So you're allowed to unlink at the stop stations? Guinness allows this?
Yes, they do. Yes, and we had to clarify that with them. Yes. It was kind of funny. Before we did get that approval from Guinness, we were joking around about how how hilarious that would be to watch someone with the tubing attached to them, pulled out, get into that porta potty so they can use the washroom, and then elastic back to everyone else. Anyway, but yeah, we've got a little bit of slack there. Yeah.
And what is what would you say prerequisite to someone that, I mean, first of all, that's quite a bit of pressure, I'd say, because if one person doesn't get through it, it's kind of over, right?
Yep. No one wants to be the weakest link. That's for sure.
So what's the prerequisites to joining, or what would you recommend? Because you're still looking for runners, and hopefully there's people watching, thinking about it. What do you think about that?
So there's two main prerequisites for it. One is, this is not a speed record. So we have essentially 6.5 hours to run the marathon. So it's not a fast marathon. So the first criteria is people need to be able to comfortably run a 5-hour marathon. So our running time will be about 5 hours, and then we're factoring in 45 minutes for breaks, and then another 45 minutes for the unknown. And then secondly is, this is about charity. This is about raising awareness for mitochondrial disease. And the Guinness World Record is really just an avenue to do that. So really, we want people to just be a champion for the cause and help raise funds, do their best to raise funds. And we set a goal of 150,000, and hoping to challenge people to, on average, be able to raise $1,000 each. So they just got to be able to commit to do their best effort to fundraise.
And then, now that it's so close, are you still accepting people? It'd probably be difficult to raise that type of money, and I don't know, and jump in right here at the end.
Yeah. Well, actually, and we realize it's a short order before the run to raise that amount of money. But actually, they keep the Calgary Marathon keeps the charity challenge open for another few weeks into mid to late June. So it allows people to follow up after the event as well, and to solicit donations. So if anyone's thinking about joining us and are worried about that component, there's plenty of time to do the fundraising even after the run. And if we get a Guinness World Record, it's a great way to encourage people to support the cause after the race as well.
And what kind of pace are you guys running at for your? You said it's not a speed record. What kind of pace are you guys going to be running at throughout the marathon?
It'll be an even pace of 7 minutes per kilometer, and that equates to about a 5-hour marathon. So our moving time should be about 5 hours, assuming all goes well.
That's reasonable, isn't it?
Yep.
What about those?
But for 5K runners, maybe not.
And what about those types of people that aren't used to running, maybe that slow? Because that could be a challenge as well, isn't it?
Yep.
So
and people have voiced that as well. I think we'll get into a groove for sure. For some people, it's going to be a bit awkward, I think, for the first probably hour or two. But I think once we get moving at that pace and everybody kind of gets into a rhythm, that we'll settle into it and it'll become much, much more comfortable. But yeah, to your point, when people are used to running at a faster pace, it can be a bit awkward for sure running that slow.
So if people want to are interested, or they want to sign up or join or want more details, what can they do?
They should go to our website that we've set up at www.mitolinked150.run. And all the information is on the site there, in terms of how they join. And also we're looking for volunteers as well. So there's a place on there for volunteers to sign up and support us. We're going to have over 90 volunteers out there on course, helping us be successful on Sunday.
Okay. So, and if they're looking for, if someone wants to volunteer, if they want to be a part of this, they can go to the same website and.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just click the volunteer button on there, and all the information will be there for the different locations that we're looking for volunteers, and at what time they're required.
Okay. Fantastic, Blaine. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. I hope it goes well. I'll look forward to seeing you this weekend, and I wish you guys all the best.
All right. Well, thank you, and I really appreciate you helping us tell the story.
You betcha.
Okay. See you, Drew.
I just cut off. Are you there?
Yep, still here. Yeah.
I just cut off the live feed. We should be good. The sun, I think the sun started to go down, so I was like becoming darker and darker. Oh, man. Anyways, that's okay. Funny. I know you got somewhere to go. Thanks, Blaine. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Drew. I like your hair, by the way.
I appreciate that. Is it awesome. A good running? Aerodynamic.